Good morning. My name is Edward Sanshin Oberholzer. I'm the resident priest and guiding teacher here at the Joseph Priestley Zen Sangha in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and a member of the teaching circle at Empty Moon Zen. At some point, around 1300 years ago, a young man, whether through mischievousness, a desire to trip an old man up, or perhaps, just perhaps, as an earnest inquiry, this monk went up to an ancient and venerable teacher, Zhao Zhou, and asked a question usually put to a beginner on the koan path. One of the Dharmakaya koans, one of the koans meant to elicit an initial taste of the boundless. That old chestnut, all things return to the One. To what does the One return? I picture Zhao Zhou, a teacher renowned for his grandmotherly ways, a teacher of whom it was often said that when he spoke, light sparkled on his lips. I picture him gazing wistfully into the distance as he answered, "When I was living in the province of Jingzhou, I made a cloth robe. It weighed 7 pounds. Not, I'm sure, what the young monk was expecting. Now, to be honest, a 7-pound robe, though ponderous, is itself not that out of the ordinary. Anticipating this talk, I weighed my robes last night and found that they tipped the scales at 7.4 pounds. Now that's a pile of cloth. More than enough, as has been pointed out to me, to teach a priest humility. More than enough so that Ed Brown, the cookbook writer and San Francisco Zen Center priest, used to ask people who expressed an interest in ordination if they really wanted to become involved in fabric management. Still, not in all likelihood a response that monk was looking for. No, just to what does the One return? 10,000 things don't just return to the One. They are the One. But what then is that? A question for a seminar in metaphysics, perhaps, but not a question for old Zhao Zhou. Hakuin, in commenting on this, the 45th case in the Blue Cliff Record, asked, "Is this where myriad things return indeed?" And he goes on to say that Zhao Zhou turned where it is impossible to turn, moved where it is impossible to move. Tenkai Denzen, the 17th century Soto master, said, responding to the Blue Cliff's case, that Zhao Zhou's answer was the living tactic of turning freely beyond Buddha and his Zen masters, where an answer is impossible. Yes, to turn is impossible. To answer, that too is impossible, just as impossible as a 7-pound robe. The initial saying itself, all things return to the One, to what does the One return, is a reference to the Gandayula Sutra, which says all things of the 3 realms are reduced to one mind. Katsuki Hideka, the Rinzai priest who pointed that out, went on to say that it is not that dharmas are reduced to oneness, but that dharmas are oneness, and that 7-pound robe. Form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. My 7.4-pound robe is boundless, even if it now fits a bit more snugly than when I first acquired it. As a junior in high school, our daughter was encouraged to apply to the University of Chicago, and so we made a pilgrimage to the Windy City in the spring of her junior year and did the grand tour of the university and got the full presentation in the admissions office. I came away having learned a number of things. That the apocryphal offices of the equally apocryphal Indiana Jones were right there in the center of the campus. that the much vaunted and highly conservative economics department of the university had commissioned a statue from an Italian sculptor who arranged the abstract object in such a way that on May 1st, on May Day of each year, it cast the shadow of a hammer and sickle on the ground in front of their building. And ultimately, and more importantly for us, that the university had a long history of having applicants answer an essay that the admissions people thought were clever questions designed to separate the wheat from the chaff. Questions such as, who would buy a jar of mustard 1.5 feet tall? What does Play-Doh have to do with Plato? How did you get caught? How do you feel about Wednesdays? What's so odd about odd numbers? And so where is Waldo really? But what really got my attention was when the admissions officer casually revealed that one of the essay questions had been, all things return to the one. To what does the one return? I'm sure that generated admissions essays I would have loved to have seen. What would have made the grade? What would not? Just what were the criteria? And one wonders if any of the applicants gave an answer to match Zhao Zhou's wistful reminiscence of his days in Jingzhou and that 7-pound robe. Torn from a spiritual context, questions like this take on a life of their own, but they can't help but carry just a whiff of the Dharma. My old companion on the way, Rod Mead Sperry, has collected what he calls Dharma burgers, cans of soda that offer enlightenment, smiling Buddhas in the most unlikely of circumstances. And just up the road from me is an automobile repair business with the name of Bardo Collisions. My wife assures me that Bardo is a common name in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, but I can't pass that sign without wondering if that's where cars go after they've been totaled and are waiting to be reborn in a new and more roadworthy incarnation. But we've left that poor monk hanging. To what does the one return? Wang Bi, the 3rd century Chinese scholar of Confucianism, who wrote before he died at the age of 23, and doesn't that set you back? He wrote the definitive commentary on the Tao Te Ching. Wang Bi saw the 10,000 things coming forth from Wu, from what we call emptiness, the boundless, or in the Japanese pronunciation, Mu, and in a continuous cycle returning to Wu in a process not unlike that visualized in quantum mechanics as virtual particles emerge from and disappear into the emptiness of a vast field of space-time. But for Mahayana Buddhism, for Zen, that's not a sequence, not a process, but the realization that both sides, the many and the one, are one and the same, not two sides of a coin, but the same coin. And so while there are many points of contact between Zen and Taoism, here at least there is a clear difference. As Saketa said, the Dharma, the one, is the 7-pound robe. And Zhao Zhou's response, and it was a response, and not a non sequitur, his response was exactly it, that 7-pound robe. And so we come to Seisho's poetic commentary on the koan. He wraps everything up and presses against the ancient old awe. How many people know the weight of the 7-pound shirt? Right now, I throw it down into Westlake, the pure wind of unburdening. To whom should it be imparted? Or, if you will, a monk comes in and seemingly tries to wrap everything up for old Zhao Zhou. Those robes, such thusness, such presence, such form. But even this we don't need. Throw it away. open your hands and cast it into the lake. Here, I give you 7 pounds of it, for you with these empty hands. Thank you.